Hello guys, my name is Kaimana Kane, and today I'm going to be giving you a book review on I Survived the Nazi Invasion. Alright, so you may be wondering what the Nazis are, and the Nazis are just a horrible group that were controlled by Adolf Hitler in World War II. And this is Max right here. The title is not including Zaina, but Zaina is also another one of the main characters in this story. So I'll tell you what happens step by step. Alright, so in the book, the first page is about Max and Zaina hiding in a closet because the Nazis are invading their home. Max and Zaina are Jewish, and the Nazi group really hate Jewish people. So Max and Zaina's dad sacrificed himself, sadly, for Max and Zaina, and he really just went with the Nazi group. Tried to fight back, but they were too strong. So then, fast forward a couple years later, Max and Zaina are starving on the road, trying to hide from the Nazis and trying to survive to get food and eat. But Max and Zaina see that there's a little hole, tiny hole, on the bottom of the barbed wire fence. And you may be wondering, why is there a barbed wire fence? Well, Max and Zaina are trapped in a Jewish ghetto. A Jewish ghetto is basically like a segregated city from other cities where the Nazis are basically like trying to focus on to get all the Jewish people and get them into Jewish camps. And we'll get a lot into that later. So Max and Zaina try and climb under that, but in the progress of that, a Nazi guard picks both of them up by the head, and basically the Nazis know that they're Jewish by their face, and they're really scared. So, well, Max and Zaina, they're not just going to let the Nazis take them, so Max and Zaina fight back. They take the rifle, shoot it into the man's foot, and then the chest. Then he dies. That's good, but Max and Zaina still have a long way to go. So they go under the barbed wire fence, and they really just try and find some food. And luckily for them, they find some berries on a bush. They're not poisonous, but they think it might be poisonous, so they just take one tiny one and test it out before they eat it. But then they realize it's not poisonous, so they eat all of the berries on the bush. So then they go to a plains farm nearby and really just ask the farm owner if they could stay there for the night. And the farm owner says yes, because the farm owners are part of the Nazi resistance camp, and basically the Nazi resistance group is a group that's fighting against the Nazis, and basically that group had won the war with the help of many other countries. So Max and Zaina are just kind of like having a slumber party, but not fun, just sleeping over at the man's house. But then suddenly they hear footsteps outside of the barn, and the farmer was taken away, sadly. So they kept quiet, and they tried to help the man by telling him try to escape, grab the rifle with kind of sign language, but sadly the farmer didn't understand sign language, and they just kept silent. Really sad. But later they evacuate into the forest because one of the Nazi guards spotted them. So they evacuate into the forest, and basically they're trying to hide there, and then they find this moat with a mysterious hill, and really they just try and explore inside of it. But then before they could even go, one of the Nazi soldiers knocked them in the head, and both of them got knocked out. Later they've been asleep for 5 hours, and so with the moat around the tiny hill, there was a Nazi resistance group, Jewish resistance group inside of the little hill. So the Jewish people came out and fought against the two Nazi soldiers that were trying to take them away. So they fought them, and Max and Zaina appeared to be in a mysterious bed with a bunch of Jewish doctors around them, checking every 1.5 hour or so, checking if they're alright and not killed. Alright, so Max and Zaina suddenly wake up, and they join the Nazi resistance group. So Max and Zena are really just trying to join it and basically fight against the Nazis the rest of the story. Later they thought their professor had been killed from the school, but then they saw a miracle. They saw a miracle that their professor was still alive. He was walking down towards a shop with a bunch of guns, and then Max and Zena really just run after him and give him a gigantic hug. So later, the professor brought him back to one of his fortresses. It kind of looked like a castle, and most people at that time had a legend that that castle was guarded at the very top by a purple gigantic dragon. Alright, so the gigantic purple dragon was a myth. So then they go inside and the professor really just explained to him what happened. So he faked the death because his father and his mother, when he was teaching, they suddenly died of a mysterious Nazi invasion inside of their home. So Max and Zena, basically they go inside the fortress and there's a bunch of Nazi-resistant Jewish people. So fast forward a few years, they've been staying there getting fed by water and food, really just having a great time with Professor. Once in every while, Nazi soldiers come to really just explore this home and really just try and figure out what's inside it. But every single time the Jewish resistant group knocks the soldiers out and basically they're gone for good. So Max and Zena grow up to be the Nazi resistance part of the group, and really they just basically, that's the rest of their life. And then finally, their mother and father hadn't been killed all along, and they finally reunite with their whole family, living their once again happy life. So I really love this book, and I think you'd like it too. So I guess you should just like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this. Aloha.